Hey, welcome back, casual gardeners. Before we get started, I want to apologize if you hear airplane noises. It's because there is a small airport here in Logan, Utah, and there is an airport pilot training program at USU. And I think one of them is orbiting my house right now. You may have noticed I have lettuce growing next to me, and I plan to have lettuce all year long. And this video is all about that and also other things you can grow undercover, not necessarily in a greenhouse, all winter long. Before we get into specific plants you can grow all winter long undercover here in Zone 6, we're going to go over some general guidelines for how to be successful. So first and foremost, you want to start your crops before the days get too short. So all of these lettuces were started in September. And as the days get shorter, their growth is going to slow way down. And eventually they're going to get to a point where they're almost in like stasis. And that's just fine. My goal is to harvest fresh salad from the greenhouse for Christmas dinner. We will see if I get to my goal. You will see. You do need some sort of cover in order for this to work. If you leave your plants out and exposed, especially in Zone 6 or cooler, you're going to find that the frost on the leaves is sufficient to take them down and make them all gushy and gross. So growing undercover just provides that layer of frost protection that even plants that can withstand sub-freezing temperatures will still need. So you could grow in a low tunnel, a high tunnel, cold frame, or a greenhouse. Any of those will work. And a low tunnel can be just about anything. You can use greenhouse plastic over a frame of PVC pipes. You can use horticultural fleece for frost protection. As long as you're not cutting off all the light, because your plants will still need what little bit of light they are getting through the cold season. While you're growing undercover, you want to make sure that your leaves of your crops are not coming into contact with whatever your cover is, because it will transmit cold through that cover. Nothing that will transmit adequate light is going to be a super insulator, and your leaves can freeze to your plastic or your horticultural fleece and get that frost damage anyway. So avoid contact with your cover. During the winter, your plants will need less water because there's less heat driving evaporation and transpiration. That's when your plants breathe out water. And so you can water less, but do not forget to water. Check your soil regularly and make sure it is not drying out, especially for lettuce. Lettuce hates drying out. And finally, different winter crops are going to be more or less cold hardy. So make sure you're choosing winter crops to grow undercover that are right for where you live. Now we can talk about specific plants you can grow undercover in the winter. And of course, we have to start with lettuce, because look at this. How could you not want to grow this undercover? It's gorgeous. I think lettuce is one of the prettiest things we grow in a garden. Especially the red varieties are absolutely ornamental. Most of the hardy lettuce varieties are going to be hardy down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about -12 degrees Celsius. So as long as you're not spending a lot of time below that temperature, they should be fine. Most hardy lettuce varieties are going to be hardy down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about -12 degrees Celsius. So as long as you're not getting down below that temperature very often, your lettuces should be fine undercover. Nice thing about loose leaf lettuce, which is almost exclusively what I grow, is that you can take multiple cuttings from the same plant. So you don't have to stagger your plantings so much, especially for winter growing, where they're going to spend a lot of time not really growing at all. If you do really love heading lettuce varieties, romaine is generally particularly cold hardy. You will need to stagger your plantings so that you can stagger your harvests, because when you harvest ahead, that plant is done. Merlot, green forest, Midnight Ruffles, Winter Marvel, and Winter Wonderland, which is a romaine variety, are all examples of particularly cold hardy lettuce varieties, although your local seed seller may have some cold hardy lettuce varieties that I am not listing. And of course, as always, you want to make sure you're spacing according to the needs of your plants. Or if you're growing in pots, make sure you're growing in a pot that is adequately sized for your plants. This is a trade gallon pot, and it should be sufficient to house my lettuce for its lifetime in my greenhouse. But I do already see some roots coming out the bottom of the pot. No big deal, just means I can bottom water more efficiently. The next thing I want to list is spinach. Spinach is actually better at growing faster in cooler temperatures than lettuce is. So it would have actually been a better choice for me to go bonkers with. And I might just set myself up to start some spinach indoors and move it out after some hardening off so I can enjoy some spinach in with my lettuce. Most spinach varieties are going to be hardy down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, again, negative 12 degrees Celsius. Baby spinach is going to need about 5 or 6 inches of soil depth in order to be all right. If you want to grow the more mature spinach, plan on about 10 to 12 inches of soil depth at maturity. Kale is incredibly cold hardy. I probably, if I liked kale, could have even overwintered it without cover in my house in West Valley, Utah, because that's zone 7B. It's kind of a warmer zone 7, but there are a couple of varieties of kale that are especially cold hardy. Look for red Russian kale or Siberian kale. These are going to be two of the most hardy kale varieties, and they are going to be hardy down to negative 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is approximately negative 23 degrees Celsius under cover. Just like lettuce, you can cut and come again with kale, harvesting the outer leaves and allowing the crown to keep on growing and developing through the winter. You can choose to grow green onions under cover all winter long. They're going to be hardy down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about negative 7 degrees Celsius. I did all these conversions in advance, so don't be too impressed. Evergreen hardy white, white Lisbon, and Beltville bunching green onions are going to be a few of the more cold hardy varieties. As long as you're not pulling out the bulbs of the green onions, you can actually do a cut and come again by just giving them a haircut and letting them regrow the greens. So if you want to harvest them as scallions as you would buy in the grocery store, of course that's not going to work because you're pulling them up by the roots. Mache is a less popular or familiar variety of plant that does actually well all winter long under cover. And that'll also give it a head start through the spring, although anything you grow under cover through the winter is going to be more likely to bolt when spring comes. So keep an eye out for that. So mache is also called corn salad. It's going to be hardy down to about 10 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 12 degrees Celsius. And with mache, you're going to get extremely slow growth in the cold. So plant more than you think you'll need. Asian greens like tatsoi, mizuna, and komatsuna are going to be really good for winter growing under cover. Tatsoi is the most winter hardy of the three. If space is an issue, go with tatsoi or mizuna because komatsuna gets really big, I noticed last time I grew it. I wasn't particularly keen on the flavor and texture, so you don't see it in my garden anymore, but some people love it. Tatsoi will get you down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about negative 12 degrees Celsius. Mizuna is hardy down to about 20 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 7 degrees Celsius. And with all of the Asian greens, just like with lettuce, you can do come again harvesting for multiple cuttings. And finally, and definitely not least, you got arugula or rocket. Arugula grows fast enough that you can actually start it for winter growing in October or even November. It's going to be hardy down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 7 degrees Celsius under cover. Just like most of the other leafy greens, arugula will yield multiple cuttings. Best of all, arugula has shallow roots. So a pot this size is going to give you all the soil depth you need to rock arugula all winter long. So those are the plants that I've picked out. There are other plants. I did avoid plants that you don't really get a lot of growth from, but you can still harvest undercover over the winter. So technically, for instance, beets and carrots, they're going to be all right in the ground all winter long, but they're not going to be putting on a lot of size once the day lengths get short. You're just not storing them in your refrigerator. You're storing them in nature's refrigerator. So I didn't really count them. They count if you want them to count. Let me know down in the comments if you think I missed something or got something wrong. That information that gets provided is going to help out other gardeners looking for help. So you are doing us all a favor by calling me out on my BS. The only BS allowed in my garden is in the compost pile. Make sure you've liked this video, subscribe to my channel. If you like this energy, good luck. I'm not usually this perky. You can also join and become a channel member, which gets you access in advance to most of my videos and, emojis and stuff. Yeah, most importantly of all, if enough people join my channel, I can do this full time and just start cranking out a buns load of videos. One awesome thing about gardening is you never run out of topics to explore and learn more about. In fact, I found these videos that I make to be one of my favorite ways to learn about gardening because I do a lot of research and fact checking before I turn on the camera. As always, thank you so much for joining me here in my garden today. I hope you have a wonderful time in your own garden.